from the crew again, and some cheering going on. You can see that on your screen.
SpaceX copies. From the entire SpaceX team here.
Bon bah bonjour pour le live du crew 10. Je vais lancer deux lives juste avant celui-là parce qu'en fait bah ils ont crash à cause de ma connexion internet et de mon processeur. Bah, je vais aussi le mentionner ça. C'est la deuxième fois que ça arrive sur ma chaîne, c'est chiant. 0% de paquets éverlus, c'est super. Il reste 8 minutes avant le live, enfin le décollage pardon.
And coming up here in just a few minutes, we will start having that stage 1 engine chill start. And now we're just over 8 minutes away from launch. Again, today's ride to orbit will be about 9 minutes, which is from the time of liftoff to second stage cutoff. And then Dragon at the second stage will continue to coast for a few minutes after that, prior to separation. You'll hear some performance calls along the way as we get into the final countdown and then after liftoff. And these are SpaceX flight controllers reporting on trajectory, speed, and booster performance and other key milestones. So some of the callouts you will hear after liftoff are a combination of letters and numbers. Which are 1 Alpha and 1 Bravo, which are abort modes available when the first stage is firing. And then the next round of numbers and letters you'll hear are 2 Alpha through 2 Echo, though you'll only hear the 2 Alpha call on the public loops, and those will come into play once the second stage kicks in. And then diverting a little bit from the other naming system, you will hear the call out Shannon, which refers to Shannon, Ireland, and this call means the crew is off the coast of Ireland if they needed to abort late to the second stage burn. And you'll continue to hear those different call-outs along with key performance call-outs from the guidance, navigation, and control officer along with the propulsion lead. We're now just under 7 minutes away from launch.
Engines are chilling into the place.
That call-out is because we are flowing a little bit of liquid oxygen into the engines. That's to help prepare the vehicle or the engines for the full flow of liquid oxygen into the engines. That makes sure that we don't shock the system at that full flow. Now we are still loading. Excuse me. At liftoff, consuming about 700 gallons of fuel per second. So engine chill helps us prevent that thermal shock. We have passed that 2 minutes mark. Next call-out will be stage 1, RP1 loading tweak, which we just heard.
And the RP1 is densified kerosene or rocket fuel that will propel the crew into orbit. All of that RP1 is now fully loaded into the rocket. And we previously heard that that's second stage loading was completed. We are still loading the liquid oxygen or LOX onto the first and second stages, and this is the oxidizer needed to combine with the densified kerosene that just finished loading. The RP1 liquid propellant needs an oxidizer to combine with in order to ignite. Coming up in just under 30 seconds at that T-5 minute mark, we will hear the call for Dragon to configure for terminal count and then transition over to internal power.
D'ici quelques minutes, nous aurons l'allumage.
Tanks are pressing forward, stomach retract.
Yes!
There, we just heard that call out for terminal count, so now Dragon onboard computers will take control of the spacecraft. We also heard that the propellant tanks on Falcon 9 are getting ready to pressurize, adding some additional structural support to the rocket as we get ready for that strong back to retract. And that strong back provides access to Falcon 9's fueling lines. That strong back lower has now started, and again, that strong back provides access to Falcon 9's fueling lines and umbilicals for both propellant load and the different gases being loaded on board.
And what you should see on your screen is there's those clamp arms that are around the second stage just below Dragon. They're going to open up, and once they're fully open, then that strong back or the TE can begin to recline away from the vehicle. Now initially we are going to recline that TE just about 2 degrees away from the vehicle, and then we will fully move the TE about 45 degrees away up at T0. And they're maybe a little hard to see on your screen, but the clamp arms are opening up there. There's a better view. Looks like the clamp arms are now fully open. So that TE will begin to move away from the vehicle. Very slow and slight, but just enough.
Ah, nous avons le strong mode retraite. Si vous n'avez pas vu ma diffusion sur le transporteur 12, normalement, vous savez pas ce que c'est, mais si vous avez vu, vous le savez. En fait, c'est juste pour réexpliquer, c'est la petite tour de lancement. C'est pas vraiment une tour de lancement, mais c'est un sorte de bras mécanique qui remplit la fusée, le deuxième étage plus le Dragon en carburant. Les gars, on approche vers les dernières minutes. Là, j'ai les yeux gravés sur mon OBS parce que là, j'ai plein de choses à faire pour le. Allez, plus que 2 minutes 30. Moi, je suis la personne au launch américain.
At the T-2 minute mark, just about 20 seconds from now. And once we finish propellant loading, that will mean that 1 million pounds of RP1 oxygen
attention,
will be loaded onto Falcon 9 here, just under 10 seconds.
Stage 2, lock load.
We just heard confirmation that the stage 2 liquid oxygen loading is now complete. We are under 2 minutes away from launch. Gas closeout has also begun. So we're now isolating all of the lines to the different gas stations.
1 minute 30. Ta 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 ta. Na 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 na. Attendez une seconde. Bien sûr aucune donnée. Attention. Et hop, il reste 1 minute. Allez, 5 minutes.
Less than a minute to go, and at the time of launch, the space station will be flying 260 statute miles over the west coast of Australia.
SpaceX. Go for launch.
Great call out that will go for launch. We do have a large crowd here in front of Mission Control, waiting to watch Crew 10 take off today.
Arrête, s'il te plaît, Mewan. Lâche-moi. Mais arrête, s'il te plaît. Oh. Oh, décollage.
$1.7 million pounds to get good call outs on the first stage performance so far.
Les gars, la fusée vient de décoller pour la mission Crew 10. Nous avons Max Q.
Timing that was, we just passed through Max Q. That's the largest structural load that the vehicle will see on ascent.
Vehicle supersonic.
over 1 minute and 10 seconds into today's flight, traveling at more than 1,400 miles per hour. And we just heard that call out for 1 Bravo, which means we're in the second and final abort mode for the first stage, continuing to get good performance. And the crew already pulling over 2 Gs. Next up, we'll have a couple of events happening in rapid succession. First will be that engine chill on the second stage impact engine, which you just heard, and then we'll have Nico cut off. On the first stage, we'll cut off ahead of the first and second stages. We'll be separating from one another. Then the single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite and continue to carry Crew 10 to orbit.
Les minutes après le décollage.
Begins its journey back to Earth. Now we're just 2 minutes into today's flight. The vehicle is traveling just under 4,000 miles per hour.
We're just about 20 seconds away from those events that Anna just mentioned. The 9 Merlin engines will shut down here in just about 10 seconds for Miko. Stage separation and SES-1.
Stage separation confirmed.
Séparation 1.
Great call-outs and incredible views there on your left-hand screen. On your left-hand screen, you can see a view from stage 1. And an extremely exciting ride here in Hawthorne. Awesome views of that boost burn on the first stage, as well as the MVAC igniting on the second stage.
Mais arrête.
Great views there. Now the booster is in its boost back burn. This is the first of 3 burns as it makes its way back.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Ok. Le Dragon est sur une trajectoire totalement normale.
Stage 2 continues to be on power with and it's firing until we get to that second stage engine cutoff around the 9-minute mark of flight. It's about 5 minutes of flight to go before Dragon will be flying free.
Some cool views there on your left-hand screen. That's the first stage booster as it's making its way back down to Earth. This is a ground tracking camera getting these awesome views.
And on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that lone Merlin vacuum engine of the second stage. We're continuing to get good performance on the second stage. And the crew's G-loads will dip right when we hit the separation events, and it's going to continue to build up until then.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
We're now 5 minutes into today's flight with the liftoff at 7:03 p.m. Pacific, 7:03 p.m. Eastern, 4:03 p.m. Pacific. Continuing to get good call-outs as stage 1 makes its way back to Earth, and stage 2 continues to fire, propelling Dragon into orbit.
And for just now joining us, the 4 members of Crew 10 launched from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, attached to Falcon 9 second stage, which you're seeing there on your right-hand screen. On your left-hand screen, the first stage vehicle is making its way back down to Earth. It already completed the first of 3 burns as the boost back burn, and the next event coming up for that vehicle is going to be the entry burn.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Great call-outs there. That entry burn is coming up. That entry burn is coming up here in just under 20 seconds.
Trajectoire parfaitement normale pour le Dragon et le booster qui sont en train de revenir sur Terre.
We're now just over 6 minutes into today's flight as Dragon and the second stage continue traveling at over 12,000 miles per hour.
Entry burn.
Making their way into orbit and on the way to the International Space Station.
Et là, juste après, on aura le landing burn. Oh! Oh! Oh!
Confirmation there from the crew as they continue to make their way into
Yeah.
Now 7 minutes into today's flight, the first stage making its way back down to Earth. The second stage
Oh putain, les vues sont incroyables du dessous du booster. Oh là là. J'ai envie de pleurer. Attention, une landing burn. Incroyable, c'est vu, putain, c'est incroyable.
And the crowd here is excited to see Falcon 9 touchdown.
And now that the first stage has made its way back to Earth, we're about a minute away from the second engine cutoff, which we're expecting around the 9-minute mark of today's flight. We're continuing to get good call-outs, and Dragon and all of the systems on the vehicle are performing as expected. Just over 8 minutes into today's flight, traveling more than 21,000 miles per hour.
Terminal guidance.
Hearing good call-outs. We're about 30 seconds away from that second engine cutoff, and then shortly after that, about a minute or so later, we will have orbital insertion.
SpaceX Dragon, Shannon.
SpaceX copy, Shannon.
And that call out there for Shannon, and that is the call out for Shannon, Ireland, which is the final abort stage for the second stage off the coast of Ireland.
Yesterday, the 3 astronauts from China.
Standing by for a second engine cutoff.
And back shutdown. Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
And there we heard confirmation
Launch
of
escape system disarmed.
good confirmation of orbital insertion. Crew 10 is to the International Space Station following a 9.5-minute flight uphill.
Now, the second stage is preparing for Dragon separation here, which should happen shortly. In about 10-15 seconds is what we're expecting. And we're preparing for stabilizing the second stage so that we can have a smooth separation.
And there you can see on the left-hand side of your screen,
Séparation Dragon.
the crowd is going wild. There on your screen you can see that Dragon separation, that second stage making its way. And Dragon is now flying free. 10 minutes into today's flight.
Attends une seconde, pourquoi ils ont séparé le truc là qui permet de mettre en orbite le...
And orbital insertion. And it looks like a good separation, good rates. Dragon now flying free.
Ah non, c'est seulement le deuxième étage.
There on
Enfin,
the
j'espère.
right-hand side of your screen, you can see some first images of Crew 10 inside the Dragon Endurance spacecraft as they're now successfully in orbit.
Dragon, SpaceX Chief Engineer on Countdown 1. On behalf of the entire Falcon team, we thank you for flying with Falcon and wish you a great mission. Over to LD.
It was an honor flying with you this evening. We wish you well on your journey and give Crew 9 our best. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
SpaceX Dragon, this is Crew 10 Commander Ann McClain. Thank you to all of the teams from across the world who contributed to the launch today. Spaceflight is tough, but humans are tougher. Days like today are made possible only when people choose to do the harder right over the easier wrong. Build relationships, choose cooperation, and believe in the inherent goodness of all people across the world. To my family and friends, without you, I would not be here. Explore boldly, live gracefully, go Crew 10. And over to pilot Nicole Ayers.
Pilot Nicole Ayers again. We're not the first humans to get to orbit, and we wouldn't be here without the bravery and hard work of those who have paved the way for human spaceflight. We now get the unique perspective of Earth without borders and get to revel in the connectedness of humanity. I I would be remiss to not once again acknowledge those who helped me get here to this wonderful view and this perspective, to the teachers, coaches, fellow officers, fellow teammates, Raptor Nation, to my friends and family that encouraged my dreams from the start. Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you.
This is Mission Specialist Takuya Onishi. I want to say a huge thank you to NASA and SpaceX, especially the Falcon 9 team for the successful launch, and we are looking forward to a smooth ride to the International Space Station. 日本の皆さん、たくさんの応援ありがとうございます。9年ぶりの無重力の感覚をかみしめてます。これから先の ISS への宇宙の旅、楽しんでいきたいと思います。I will now hand the mic over to Mission Specialist Kirill.
Thanks a lot to NASA and SpaceX for this wonderful ride, and I want to say a couple of words in Russian. Пользуясь такой чудесной возможностью, хочу поздравить с 65-летием со дня начала подготовки первого отряда. И также хочу сказать спасибо большое за те знания и жизненный опыт, который мной были получены в тех стенах для того, чтобы выполнить этот полет. А также спасибо школе номер 14 города Назарова, Ульяновскому высшему авиационному училищу гражданской авиации и авиакомпании «Макар» и «Нордвин», где я начинал свой путь в небо. И, конечно же, спасибо большое семье и за поддержку.
Ah, je me suis fait mal. Je suis pas en mute.
Thank you, Crew 10. At this time, I can report nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
Non, lève-toi, lève...
SpaceX Dragon, copy.
And such great words from Crew 10, as well as the Corps here in Hawthorne and Mission Control. We also got confirmation that the nose cone deploy is underway. The 6 hooks that hold the nose cone in place during the launch and ascent portions have to retract, and then the nose cone will be able to start to swing open and deploy. Now, this uncovers critical systems for the flight up to the space station, including the forward bulkhead thrusters and the docking hatch. In case there were going to be any comms, and we did have good confirmation, good checkouts of the 12 Draco thrusters around the service section. Now, 4 to go after we get the nose cone open, and then the ECLIS, the environmental control and life support system, activated inside of Dragon. Now, soon the crew will be able to get their visors open and get out of their suits and settle in for the ride to the space station.
And now we're just waiting for confirmation that the nose cone has fully deployed with all of the hooks open. But just to recap a little bit, we did have a successful liftoff of Crew 10 about 18 minutes ago at 7:03 p.m. Eastern, 4:03 p.m. Pacific. And following an approximately 9-minute ride after liftoff, we had that orbital insertion, and Dragon and Crew 10 were flying free and well on their way to the International Space Station. They now have an approximately a 28-hour journey before they do reach their destination of the space station. That docking is targeted for tomorrow, March 15th at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern to the forward-facing port of the station's Harmony module. Between now and then, Dragon will perform a series of burns as it catches up to the space station, and that first burn will be a phase burn about 30 minutes from now at 4:52 p.m. Pacific, 7:52 p.m. Eastern.
And the nose cone is about 75% open at this point. Human spaceflight has come so far in the last 5 years of Dragon. In addition to flying people, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft also enables researchers the opportunity to fly critical science to orbit. And so far, SpaceX and Dragon have carried over 1,000 research experiments to and from low Earth orbit, both to the International Space Station and on our free flyer missions. From DNA sequencing to 3D printing studies enabled by Dragon and the space station test Dragon and the space station test a variety of technologies, systems, and materials that will be needed for future long-duration exploration missions. Now, every mission yields critical science and research and learnings that help make life both on Earth and in space better. And flights like today's help us continue to lay this foundation for our future among the stars and continue our mission to make life multiplanetary.
Once Crew 10 does arrive to the International Space Station, they will, of course, partake in some additional science and research. They will have over 200 experiments that they will contribute to during their time aboard the International Space Station. Again, we're just standing by for confirmation that that nose cone has fully deployed. We may also get some additional look inside the cabin of the crew.
As we patiently wait for those views, we are trying to see if we can get some views. We were seeing some views from the second stage. This looks like it might be a view from the forward.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal nose cone opening, forward bulkhead Draco checkouts.
With the Dragon tapping over the control and nominal ECS activation and deactivation.
Je pense qu'il risque de s'arrêter là parce que ça va prendre plus de 2 heures avant qu'il puisse être enfin en orbite et que du coup voilà. Il y aura le 15, donc demain il y aura un live pour le docking, je vais le faire en fait. Bon bah je pense qu'il est temps de se quitter, merci d'avoir regardé, de toute façon il n'y a personne sur le live. Merci d'avoir regardé. Pour le lancement de Crew 10. Et au revoir.
Helps allow them so that, you know, as they're strapped into their seats, they don't lose their tablet.
The Crew 10G indicator. Tucking and holding him up. This is a hand. origami crane. It's Japanese origami, hand crocheted in the United States, and his name is Druk, which is the Russian name for friend. Origami is the Japanese art of folding paper. This is a nod to the unique and deep cultural traditions from which each of us come. While we're from different parts of the world, we are brought together in this bold endeavor, and we represent all of humanity. The folded paper design was also chosen to represent paper airplanes that we made when we were kids, before we were astronauts, when all we had was a dream. And we looked up at the sky and we wondered, what if? It's a symbol that every big accomplishment starts with a quiet dream, and that dreams do come true when you believe in yourself and you listen only to those who believe in you. Crew 10 believes in all of the dreamers. The flag and the number markings on the crane, there's a number 10 on each of its wings and a flag from each one of our countries on the tail. This is a nod to each of our shared experiences as professional pilots. These patches are arranged to look like an airplane. This is a source of deep pride for our crew, because what pilot doesn't like to talk about the fact that they're pilots? This also symbolizes our shared culture as astronauts. In the years of training together, we found we have far more in common than we do different. Our zero-G indicator was handmade by a small business owner in the United States. This represents all the hands which created our entire space program, and this rocket and this capsule that we're flying today. It also represents all of the artists and musicians who inspire people to imagine beyond what they can see. Spaceflight is perhaps the most complex endeavor of our time, but it was built one step at a time, by one person at a time. Finally, the origami crane is the international symbol for peace, hope, and healing. Crew 10 hopes to serve as a beacon of hope, a reminder that humans can accomplish when we see the goodness in one another, and we choose to work together toward a common goal. Today, we are united, not through common enemies, but through shared optimism and a basic belief in the goodness of humanity. It is far easier to be enemies than it is to be friends. It's easier to break partnerships and relationships than it is to build them. Spaceflight is hard, and success depends on leaders of character who choose the harder right over the easier wrong, and who build programs, partnerships, and relationships. We explore for the benefit of all. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, then go together. Crew 10 chooses to go together in peace, because we cannot be great without the greatness of others. Go NASA, go Cosmos, go NASA, and go Crew 10.